Good morning, all saints, those of you here and those of you online. It is my joy to welcome you today as we talk about the Community Care Alliance and beloved community here at All Saints Church. My name is Sally Howard. My pronouns are she, her, and I am an associate rector here and director of pastoral care. So I'm going to let my colleagues introduce themselves after I open us with a prayer.
Oopsie, there we go.
I had just mentioned beforehand that managing multiple things, something might fall on the floor, and it just did. So that's done and dusted. All right. And this is a prayer by John Philip Newell, one of our teachers and spiritual teachers who's been here at All Saints before. So take a breath in and a breath out. In the silence before time began, in the quiet of the womb, in the stillness of early morning, is your beauty. At the heart of all creation, at the birth of every creature, at the center of each moment is your splendor. Rekindle in us the spark of your beauty, that we may be part of the splendor of this moment. Rekindle in us the spark of your beauty, that we may be part of the blazing splendor that is at the heart of every person and every moment. Amen. So I am going to hand the mic over to my colleagues here who will introduce themselves.
Good morning, everyone. Thomas Diaz, pronouns he, him, and I am your Director of Connection and Care here at All Saints Church.
Good morning. My name is Christine Hartman. My pronouns are she, her, and I'm a volunteer here at All Saints helping to co-lead the Community Care Alliance.
Would you like to start by introducing us or reintroducing us, I should say, to the Community Care Alliance?
Thank you. We were here about almost a year ago, which I can't believe it's been that long. Time just flies. And so what we talked a little bit about the origins of the Community Care Alliance and what it all means, but we thought it would be a good idea to just kind of give our mission statement and just say it out loud again so that we could just kind of orient everybody with what the Community Care Alliance is. Because sometimes that can be there's so many things happening here, it's good to know what's what. So, the All Saints Community Care Alliance collaborates with All Saints members, the pastoral care congregational development staff, small groups, and ministry leaders to assist in the mission of being beloved community and to expand All Saints' practice of pastoral care. All Saints Church is a large congregation that offers a cornucopia of resources, support, and volunteer opportunities. The Community Care Alliance is here to help locate resources, to offer support during difficult times, and to connect needs, talents, and gifts within the community. So before we move on, are there any questions about that? Is there anything that doesn't seem clear about that? Because it's really important to us that it's clear what we're doing. Does that all kind of resonate, what I just said? Okay, great.
Something, again, just about, the history of the Community Care Alliance, which came about when COVID first came to us and shut down our community ability to meet together. And Christine and Thomas were part of starting an immediate outreach to all of the community, making phone calls to those most vulnerable. And over the period of COVID, we really developed a way of working together, and what they were doing as a group and with a group of volunteers was what we tried to do one-on-one in the pastoral care office. And I know Thomas is going to talk more about this, but this group that they founded has evolved over time and become a real resource for also pastoral care and the whole community.
No, thank you, Sally, for that. And that's kind of one of the mentions I wanted to bring up was, a year ago when we were here, we spoke about how we got to Community Care Alliance and how these two kind of endpoints, the congregational response team and community care team, was morphing into something new. And I think it was still responding to this COVID times, ongoing, right? We're still here. And so we knew that community care made sense. It sounded that this is exactly what we're doing. And there was also something we needed to add onto community care, because it wasn't going to be this team up here or the staff here at All Saints Church. There was going to be a community involvement. And so we brought the word alliance. And there are two defining ways to look at alliance, and I want to read two of them, and then I'm going to then spin it a little bit and add a Brene Brown quote to what I feel what we're doing here in this purpose. So two definitions for alliance is a relationship based on a affinity in interests, nature, and qualities. It's also the state of being joined together with association, right? So there's something about coming together with a common interest, being joined together to making that mission happen. Then I came across this quote from Dr. Brene Brown from her Daring Greatly book, which I feel is what we're really doing at the core of a Community Care Alliance, and it's this. We cultivate love when we allow our most vulnerable selves to be deeply seen and known, and when we honor the spiritual connection that grows from that offering of trust, respect, kindness, and affection. So there are qualities that go into this work, and those qualities is trust, respect, kindness, and affection, probably starting with ourselves, because we can't offer that to others until we can see it within ourselves, right? So that has to be that interest. And once we get that, then that goes out to the rest of the community. So that really the goal and the mission for us for here this morning is to showcase that Community Care Alliance is about how we all gain interest for each other and the way that we are pursuing each other's interest of well-being, and then the kindness and respect of just, really basic human decency and dignity, and the care that we have for one another. And it's really, I have to say, and we've been in discussion a lot in these past couple of weeks, this is really a really unique way in approaching community involvement and engagement. Is usually, we do have that you have, either a steering committee or a staff person really putting the efforts into it, and this is kind of almost doing the opposite. Though we're still here, and we're here to guide, the program, but this is how we actually are trying to initiate the community now to say, no, this is your Community Care Alliance. You will make this happen. Not just, when we can start here at All Saints Church, but I know that for us, the vision is could be a wider community experience that could be a model, right, for the rest of society. Yeah.
I think that's well said, Thomas. And, as, organizations, evolve, I think there was a way in which a lot of pastoral care landed in, the pastoral care office and staff there, which is, that's all good. But it became a little siloized, really. in a way that, and we see this incredibly rich resource, in the community, to be beloved community to each other, right? And, I think part of this group is wanting to connect people, both connect to, the resources that we have, but also to facilitate us caring for each other, right? Because there is such healing and transformative power, in that care for each other. And sometimes in a large congregation, it takes time to find those people or ways of plugging in. And so the Community Care Alliance is really well organized to connect people to all those resources that Thomas was talking about, and also help, people plug in, like where, they might feel, that tug or leaning in their own hearts about connecting or offering, service to others. And so this group is really set up to do that and to kind of alter the culture that developed. And again, there are good things that came out of it, but, pastoral care, so to speak, or care, isn't just located by any means in clergy. Clergy might have a particular function at times that they can offer, but caring for each other is really a community power. And so that's been the vision that has developed over the last couple years. And I might add just a little bit about beloved community, and how we think about that. Next on the list? Yeah, all right. And, we strive to be beloved community together, right? And that's got that term is so rich, and it's got lots of history, including really the vision of Martin Luther King, Dr. King, in how we empower each other to be a place of belonging for everybody, right? Which also includes awareness of our social location and, how welcoming our space is to, beyond, the majority of the congregation that has been present. So that's part of beloved community, right? And also, being beloved community together is both caring for each other, but, things like, I kept thinking of Cheers. I'm really dating myself. I don't know how many people here remember that show, but, the song was always, this group that gathered in a local, tavern, but where someone always knows your name, right? And again, in a big community, that can be, a challenge for us, but being belonging and knowing you are cared for, is really central, to beloved community. And I just wanted to emphasize too that, sometimes we think of service as large or caring for each other as large things, and sometimes it might be, but it's also, small things. When we are beloved community together, we change our stories about ourselves and each other. And I think, as Thomas, you were saying, that empowers us to do that in the world, beyond us. And, I was thinking of a small, well, you know what, I'll come back to my example of a small act.
Okay. And talking about Community Care Alliance as a resource, I think this is a phrase that that came up that just kind of sticks in my mind is that Community Care Alliance is a resource for empowerment, not a gatekeeper of care. You know, it's not, okay, everybody care for each other, but go through the Community Care Alliance and we'll figure out and tell you how to do that. If you want some resources and want some help, we are here to empower you to do that. But there's pastoral care going on around here every day, all the time. And that just can just keep going, and it's beautiful. And if anybody needs help in that regard, we are here, as is the Office of Pastoral Care, Health and Healing, to help with that. So I think that's really important to be clear, is that, you know, we're not gatekeeping any of this. It's already happening, and it's even happening within all of our ministry groups that care for each other. The care for each other is happening in even our informal groups, between parents of teenagers who are in youth group, between parents of kids who are in choir, between folks who are involved in all other aspects of our community. That care is happening, and I think we just want to encourage that to keep happening, because that is, and I do need to acknowledge Stacy Kennelly, who is also a co-leader. She is out ill today, and she expressed this particular sentiment very beautifully, and I can't replicate it, but she talked about how we can also encourage people to utilize the ministries you're already involved in, the groups, in this large place, these smaller groups that you're already involved in, whether it's an actual small group or another ministry, to utilize those as centers of your own pastoral care. If you need something, or if you are concerned about someone, use those as centers of pastoral care. That is sacred, that is holy, and that is already there. That's already set up. So, and I said it not as well as Stacy did, but so Stacy, we're sending you out prayers of healing as well, and hope that you feel better. Stacy is also the Director of Spiritual Coordination here at All Saints Church, and she has blessed us with a little meditation, which we'll be doing a little bit later in the forum. So, this message of we're all in this together, how do we do it? What is the practicality of this? And this is my jam, the logistics of it. And and part of
Praise
that
God.
is part of that is we need to get people, we need to gather people and to know who is interested in offering their gifts. And what Sally was saying, there is nothing too small. In fact, even the smallest, most simple acts of care can make the biggest difference. Even knowing, you know, you talked about somebody knows your name. Somebody always knows your name. If you haven't been at church for a while and get a call from somebody or an email, hey, I haven't seen you for a while. That's a very simple act. And that just makes someone feel seen and cared for. Hey, someone noticed, I haven't been here. Not a, why aren't you at church? But gosh, is everything okay? You know? So even just those simplest acts are very important. But how do we mobilize people? And part of that is knowing who is just interested in being on the list. You know, we may have a need that we'll need to blast out and say, hey, somebody needs this, can somebody provide? And part of that is visiting us at our table, which I'll talk about in a little bit, after the service, and signing up for our email list. I promise we won't inundate you. It's just a great way to know who is interested in just being part of this effort. And the other important part of that is not just how you can serve, and there are many different ways. We have people who provide transportation. We have people who provide meals. We have people who weed. We have people who pick up groceries or prescriptions for those who can't. We have people who deliver prayer shawls. I mean, it goes, you name it, we've probably asked someone to do that. And there's so many generous people who have done that. And we can't do that if we don't know who needs help. And that is something that is also very important, whether it's requesting through the Pastoral Care Office or talking with a staff member or emailing the Community Care Alliance. If we don't know what you need, we can't help you. And I think we still have this, rugged individualism is still, I think, part of how we approach things, especially in this country and in our dominant culture, and we need to ask for help and understand that our community wants to help each other, and we're here for each other. We are all in this together, and the best way we can do that is to ask for help and to give that help. So all of that to say, please see me at the table and sign up for our email list, or come up to any one of us and let us know what it is you like to do. If you like to bake cookies, I guarantee you we will find somebody who needs a plate of cookies. Again, the simplest things can make a huge difference. Let's see, I guess, we have a small and mighty group here this morning. I would love to ask, after hearing what you've heard to this point, what do you envision from this? What would you need? What would you want to see as part of this? Does anybody have thoughts about this at this moment? And if you don't, that's okay. We'll have more time later to offer feedback as well.
Echoing? Anyway, I have been very impressed by the variety of services beyond simply the liturgy within the church that has been offered, and the traditional kind of religiously oriented counseling. I've been working with the LGBT small group, and to be frank, I went through a divorce recently, and it has helped me survive some of the trauma of the divorce. I've been working with the foster care program, a division of that program called, I've forgotten what we're called, but we provide mentoring and observing for children separated from their parents, and their meetings together. And they're always recruiting for people. And I sometimes wonder under what rubric these things fit within the church program. That's kind of a first question. And there's a new LCP, lay, not chaplaincy, but counseling program, which sounds a lot like a peer counseling program, which I haven't been part of that program, but I may be part of it. My question is, how do these myriad of services fit into your community care framework? Or are they primarily Sally and her associates running those programs? Are they primarily your program running these programs? And at a larger level, given the variety of community services offered by All Saints Church, I wonder if we shouldn't be applying for some block grant funding or some external funding, because the government has talked for a very, very long time about faith-based, not necessarily in the sense of religious-based, but religious organization-based outreach to the community. And I wonder if that might be a way of bringing some funding into your program that might enrich your resources. So that's a long, complicated, these are my thoughts about the kinds of programs that you're offering, how they're integrated, and how they might be funded.
Great questions. I'll address how this all fits in with the Community Care Alliance, and that is the Community Care Alliance is basically partnering with all of the different ministries to help plug people in and connect them as needed, and find out what needs those ministry has and connect them with folks who are interested in those areas. And to that end, Stacy and I will be at the first part of this year meeting with all of the ministry leaders and finding out from them, making sure we're clear about what they do and what their needs are, and so that we can then have a very clear idea of where we can help maybe plug folks in there as needed. So we are really more of a clearinghouse in a way for all of those ministries if we need to. That said, if somebody comes to All Saints and says, if they already know that they want to knit prayer shawls, they can just go right to the prayer shawl ministry. They don't have to go through us or anything like that. If they already know, we're here to help kind of connect folks who don't know what they want to do or maybe what's available. So that's the Community Care Alliance function organizationally. And then I'll let Sally talk about the Pastoral Care LCP and great idea about getting funding. And we're always interested in that.
We're always interested in that. Thank you, Sandy, for that. Yes, congregational development and pastoral care actually operate out of a same circle of beloved community. And so some of the ministries that you mentioned, Sandy, are under pastoral care, like lay counseling ministry. Organizationally, Community Care Alliance, is a blend of its beloved community. It's both congregational development and pastoral care. And also, foster care, because we work collaboratively, and that's an important value that we've embraced. Peace and Justice also has groups that provide service, like the foster care. So if the overall, is that service comes out of lots of pastoral care, comes out of probably every function, in the church, and small groups do, and ministries do as well. Yeah.
Okay, speaking of congregational development and small groups and the many connections and healing that, is there another question? Oh, okay. Sorry, thank you. No, we've got time. Go ahead. We want to. This is all a big discussion. We want to hear from everybody. Thank you.
Okay. I just wanted to say I am still fairly new to this community, not quite a year yet, and have so felt somehow a part of things, even though all I've done is just sit and listen to service on Sunday pretty much. So I wanted to acknowledge that. I second want to say, I know 100 years ago when my daughter was 5 and dislocated her neck, she was in a full body cast for 6 weeks, and there was a woman at our church at that time who organized having Sunday school kids send her cards. She got a card every single day for 6 weeks, and I can't think of anything that was more important. I mean, probably to the Sunday school teacher who was beating the whip on the kids, it wasn't a small thing, but somebody had to get addresses and stamps, and it does make a huge difference. I recently applied for your lay counseling, and I don't know if I'll be accepted into the program or not. That remains to be seen, but if I am, then I guess I would want to be doing that, but I'll put my name on the email list as if I don't get in one group, maybe I can bake cookies or something.
Good morning. I'm interested, I've read your web page on pastoral care. I'm so impressed. And I'm mostly interested in your healing prayer ministry. I know you're having that this morning at the service. How does that go on, other than, once a year, I think you have that service? And I'm also interested in healing of memories that you talk about on that page, when that happens, how that happens, who leads it. So I'm mostly interested in healing prayer, how that happens here.
Great question. And it's timely because we are just beginning to bring back, some of our healing ministries, healing prayer ministries that have been, in person. So it's really a great question. We have people that can pray with anybody, and the contact for that really is through, pastoral care. It could also be Community Care Alliance because we work so closely together. We want more avenues for people to be able to get, that. But praying one-on-one, we have people that do that and do healing prayer. We are also beginning to bring back Healing Partners, which is a longer prayer process that uses Reiki and, principles from the National Nursing Association, So at the rail every Sunday during communion, people can come forward for, laying on of hands and prayer for particular concerns. So that's also a weekly thing that happens, especially at the 10. But at the 7:30, if you go to the 7:30 and you ask someone to pray with you afterwards, that can also happen. So it's prayer is mysterious and prayer is powerful, and it's great. And if you want more information, we can talk about that. But we're bringing that back online now that we're able to be in person. We've done it by phone or Zoom sometimes, but we're ready to do it in person. Yes. Oh, I'm sorry, I forgot that. Thank you for bringing that up. Yes, that is a ministry that we provide, support for through Father Lapsley, Michael Lapsley, and he comes once or twice a year and does a weekend retreat with a small group and trained people. And he has a particular way of working with people who've been through traumatic experiences. Trauma is a broad definition, and I tend to accept how people themselves, think about it or identify it. And so it's a small group experience over a weekend. Yeah, and if you watch in the webpage or the newsletter, it will be there.
Any other last questions before, when there will be time for questions also later? Thank you very much, everyone, for your input. And speaking of small groups, an important part of how we connect here at All Saints, an important part of how we kind of continue to de-siloize between everything too. Thomas, would you like to talk about that?
So, I've been reading a lot of articles recently, a lot from social scientists, on this term called critical connection. It really emerged during the beginning of the pandemic, and I love that term so much. And there's several ways that it can be defined, but really, the way that I would frame, critical connection is that we basically need each other. And I think the pandemic really showed that, and showcased that even more when we had to, hunker down in our own individual places, but we still needed each other. And I think we were fearful that we're going to lose each other, because we didn't know what the connection was going to look like. We barely knew what Zoom was early in 2020, and now it's a whole different story. But and so related here to All Saints Church, one of the things that had to happen almost instantly was, how do we continue with making sure that folks had a place to go, even if it was on your computer? And so the infrastructure of our small groups was something that we had to make sure that we had enough access to, and it's continued even to the current age. And it's one of the most, I feel, important ministries, and where you can find critical connection. And the point of small groups really is to deepen that connection, regardless if you've been here for 1 month to several decades. This is a place for you to come and widen that connection. And so we have them, and we have several small groups. And there's really two outlets that you can, find your place in. If you go to our website, click on the Get Involved tab in the community webpage. We have our current listings of small groups. I know Sandy alluded to the LGBTQ small groups that meet in person weekly. I'm excited that we have a new 40s and 50s group, because what happens after 20s and 30s? You go to the 40s and 50s. And so that is, That's where you stay. No. We, and if you feel a call to start a small group, do it. And this is my encouragement to you all. And if you're listening, on streaming, if you feel just a nudge of the Spirit telling you, maybe there needs to be, I don't know, a certain book club to, what we, Christine alluded to, that, just even a small group to do some gardening and lawn work for folks. Make it happen. We'll make it happen for you and get that up and running. And that's how, we continue to build on that critical connection and a peace. And it really keeps you in a more connected area versus, having just to sit in the pews on Sundays, which is important. And we do have that connection there. And then there is also on the other side, when we're in a smaller group and we're seeing each other and saying, wow, thank you for sharing your story, because I too had a similar experience on my own end. And there you go. Critical connection has been made. And so really these small groups are meant to continue to deepen and widen the way that we see each other here at All Saints.
Yeah, just thank you, Thomas. Also, most of the pastoral care ministries were started from ideas from parishioners. Some were thought of by clergy or staff, but listen to those leanings, And I also wanted to take just 1 minute, if I could, to mention this small act that caused me to stay at All Saints, because I was at a point in my life when I came, having grown up in a community that was very, very exclusive, particularly to LGBTQ people. And someone convinced me to come to All Saints before I threw the baby out with the bath, right? And it was an usher. There was an unhoused person sleeping in the pew who rolled off during the sermon. And he came and he stood at the end of the pew. He checked on him. He was sleeping. And he leaned back to me and he said, "He's okay. He's just asleep." And at the end of the service, he came and stood at the end of the pew. And he said to me, "I don't want him to be embarrassed if he wakes up." And that is why I am here at All Saints Church all those years later, was because of the act of one person, one usher. So.
Okay. Wow, I have to talk after that. That's beautiful. Thank you for sharing that, Sally. So one of the things that we've been doing as Community Care Alliance for quite some time now, some of you may have heard of our spiritual location exercise. And it's kind of spiritual location. What does that mean? And I wish Stacy was here to explain it, but I will do my best because I have attended every single one of them. So it's basically in this moment right now, where are you with your mind, your heart, your body? And it's a 90-minute exercise where you go through, and Stacy leads us through a number of different questions. There's journaling. There's a nice long space in the middle where you just look at everything and you see what, and I love this word she uses, you see what shimmers, what stands out. And it allows you to kind of see where you're at in that moment. And at the end, there's some small group work, and please don't let that scare you. All it is just some sharing at the end, and it has, from what I have heard and experienced, it has been some of the most profound, 15 minutes of connection that folks have had in a very safe and welcoming and wonderful space. So what we are going to do is do we have time for this? Yeah, we're going to do a quick little meditation that Stacy has put together, and then we're going to hear from somebody who has attended many of these, and we'll speak to her experience as well. So I'm going to channel Stacy right now and do this on her behalf. So if everybody can just get in a comfortable position, both here and at home, wherever you're viewing from. Please close your eyes. Breathe patiently and evenly in and out through your nose. Breathe in deeply. Notice your lungs filling up with air. And now release with a full breath out. Again with a full, slow breath in. And a full, slow breath out. And now let your breathing relax, finding a balance between letting go of controlled breath while still being aware of your breath. Take note of how you're feeling right now in your body, heart, and mind. Ask yourself, what is my body telling me? Maybe you notice a physical sensation, discomfort, or ease. Thank your body for carrying you, for reminding you to slow down, for helping you notice. And then, from an overall sense of the body, check in with your heart. Are there any emotions present? Welcome your feelings without judgment. With unpleasant emotions, the habit of the mind is to try to get rid of these experiences. Instead, allow them to be present in you. You may try offering this simple phrase of stability and acceptance. You may want to say to yourself, right now, I feel like this. Or, this feeling won't be with me forever. And then, what is going on in your mind? Are there any stories present, positive or negative, that you are replaying in your mind? Be curious about these repeated stories. Are there connections, maybe, between them and how your body and heart are feeling? take a cleansing breath here. Breathe in. Breathe out. Come back to your whole self. Come back to all of you, body, heart, and mind. Now ask yourself, what is standing out? Notice what stands out without self-criticism, without judgment. Notice with an open heart, a loving kindness, a sense of compassion toward yourself. To help us tap into that sense of compassion, we'll repeat to ourselves a few phrases. These feelings are not mine alone to carry. Many others feel the same way I do. I accept these feelings, thoughts, and emotions as a shared human experience. These thoughts and feelings don't make me bad or good. They make me human. They make me alive. Take this last moment together to be kind to yourself and extend to yourself compassion and charity. As you sit in your gentleness and love, I invite you to pray with me. As my soul grows quiet, I return to that astounding truth that at the heart of my being, I am eternally loved. I rest in your embrace. Amen. So we are near the end of our time, but I do want to hear quickly from Ellen Loeffler, who has graciously agreed to talk with us about her experience with the spiritual location exercise, which you can sign up for out at the lawn after the service.
My name is Ellen Loeffler, and I'm just going to read this. I am a great fan of the once-a-month experiences entitled Spiritual Location Exercise. I have participated since May 8th, 2021. For an hour and a half, I can stop my busy life and have structured time for me. During this Zoom interval, I can relax, reflect, respond, and relate. First, relax. Stacy and Christine provide an inviting and welcoming setting in which I feel comfortable and completely cared for. I feel safe to go deep as I respond in writing to open-ended questions, which are the same each time we get together. Yet each time I respond differently because I now realize that each moment I am a different me. Next, reflect. The exercise allows me to go deep into my present moment. I am pausing to think my thoughts and feel my feelings and putting those into words. Often I have realized that I didn't know what I was thinking and feeling until I started writing, and then within the exercise structure, reading those writings to myself. That's part 2 of my response. Finally, relate. I have met so many others through this experience. New faces, people I recognize but haven't spoken to or gotten a name, and those I'm familiar with, even friends. I deeply appreciate the expectations of true, non-judgmental listening to and open-hearted sharing with each other. Thank you, Stacy and Christine, for your dedication to this process. For me, next Saturday, January 14th, is your monthly gift to me. I will be refreshed again.
Beautiful. Thank you. Thank you so much. So thank you all for coming and being online today. We are going to stop now and get to our 10 o'clock service, which is all about healing. So I hope you'll stay.